7. Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll do it another time because I really want to go in there and give it a try. Oh, good. All right. Excellent. Thanks, Betty. Thank you. All righty. Bye-bye. Okay, when I hear them come down with the trash, then they'll be finished. I'm glad you got your shower in before they.
Hey, Jan,
Mhm.
you're almost to the thing for a moment. I just need a quick. Can you just give me some coffee?
Sure.
Just a cup of coffee. Just.
You want a piece of toast?
No, I can't eat the toast because I'm getting ready to start
Okay.
in just minutes.
All right.
Stevens cards up there.
Mm. Oh, Kathy? Hello, Kathy. Morning. Good morning. Why can't we hear? Why can't I hear?
Myself as people come on.
All right. I'm just, okay. Yeah. Let's hope people come on. Hmm. Jen?
Bob, you noticed that I went in and cleaned up a few of the slides.
I haven't gone back in.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. You didn't change any order. You left the order the same?
Correct.
Yeah.
I just
okay.
did some like cleanup.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
What have you
So,
got going on this weekend?
I'm leaving right after this to go to New Jersey for Stephen's birthday tomorrow.
Oh, my daughter's birthday's on Sunday. She's turning 18.
Oh.
I know, big birthday.
Yeah.
It's like a whole weekend.
So
It's
I
not just one day, it's an entire weekend.
let's see here. So if not, let's just wait a bit. And if people come through, I'll tell you what, I want to go through this and I want to show what I want to do out of this is we run these, people run these seminars and people walk away and they say, give me slides. And in the end, they don't do anything with them. They don't, and so I'm going to find out, I'm going to look for someone, if someone attends, who is motivated to set goals or who has goals and who wants to find a way to keep themselves accountable. And I want to offer to coach them as a way to get through that and to use the system and see where it goes, because I was what I'm finding on these things is that they just aren't being used. And it's like the command thing. So there's all kinds of classes in command, but when you get to polls, who's using command, it's like so few. So anyways, let's just see here. Let's take the anything else that we need to cover while we're waiting. Okay.
Hey, Bob,
Yes, Cassie.
on Linwood,
Yeah.
do you know what we want to do for photographs, Matterport or Planomatic? And are we ready to schedule?
Yeah, we are. I had maybe responded here. Did you find who, if we would do Matterport, do you know who would do that?
You gave us a contact. It was Ben's son, Jake Pearl.
That was the one. That was the one that they were doing it, and I don't think they had. I don't think they had together as far as photographers. I don't think they're the one. Let's do this. We're ready to do it. Let's do it. Let's use Planomatic, and let's
Okay.
not do the Matterport. The quality is what's most important, and if we can get the same, photographer, that would be terrific.
Okay, and when would you like me to schedule it?
You can schedule it as early as I have time on the calendar next week.
Okay, just a reminder, you guys, this is being recorded, so
Okay. Good.
from the office,
Okay.
want to remind you about that.
Okay, thank you.
That's not a problem. So just give me a quick second here. Just one quick second. I gotta step away for a minute.
Are you supposed to get snow out in the western part of the state tomorrow?
Snow, bite your tongue.
Yeah, I know.
Shh.
We're supposed to get snow.
Don't say it. If you don't say it, it won't happen.
Here's what I suggest. Let's walk through this because there was some learning for me.
Oh, we have
When-
somebody join us. Hello.
Hello. Morning.
Brendan, hi, Brendan.
Hi, good morning.
Good
How's
morning.
everyone
How are
doing?
you?
All
Good.
right.
Hi, Chin.
Good morning, everyone. Morning.
Ah. Let's see, I see. I don't see someone new just joined. Who else besides Brendan joined?
Chin.
I don't see.
He's brand new, right?
No,
Did
I'm
you
sorry.
just join, Chin?
Yeah.
no. What I don't see. I don't see a video there. That's what I was asking.
If you scroll over, you might see more people, or if you go to the view, you can see, you might be able to see all participants.
Right here. Which one, Suzanne, is?
There's view options, and then there's over in the right-hand side of the Zoom screen, there's a little view icon. If you click on that, you can see different
Yeah, I got you.
options
Okay.
for people.
Don't see it. Let's Suzanne, could you Kathy go in and kind of give you control and see if you could pull it up, because I don't see the full screen. I don't see everybody. Can you take control? Yeah, thanks. Somebody just asked, you do it. Brendan, so what's your interest in this, Brendan, on this session? Do you have goals, by the way? Do you set goals, and do you have goals for the year that you've set for yourself?
Yeah, I do.
You do. Okay. By the way, how long have you been in real estate?
Since October of last year.
Okay, I knew. And so just what do you goal? What do you have for goals this year? Is it dollar goals? Is it deal goals? Is it in terms of
So
production?
my initial goal was to cap, and I'm part of Rick Murray's coaching program right now, where he's seeing if his 10 agents that he picked can cap for the year.
Okay,
And,
and
so my personal goals, is that what you're talking about?
in order for you to cap this year, how many closings do you need?
Oh, okay. So my goal is 12 transactions, but that's exceeding,
That's okay. That's okay.
So that's
So-
my goal, 12.
Good. And you're in a coaching with Rick on this one. That's terrific. Yeah, Rick is great. And is 12 transactions? Do you have a goal for dollar volume, or do you have a goal for GCI?
I do not.
Okay, that's all right. And by the way, that's where I started. I started off with I have more degrees of freedom with deals, and the deals are a function of the average size and the commission. So okay, you got that. I still don't see Chen.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, Chen. So Chen, you're brand new.
Yes, I'm new, but I'm transferred from other office. So I got interviewed yesterday about 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
I was with a local brokerage here in Quincy. It's called
Gotcha.
on Hancock Street.
Okay.
So over the last 12 months, I have done 12 deals.
Great.
My goal is, I guess, to maintain it. Because
Okay.
I have a full-time job too, so I'm only doing this part-time, doing this on the side. So yeah, my goal is to, I'm kind of going circle within my my client database. I want to see if I can bring in some new clients outside of what I have right now.
I got you. Okay. So similar, both of you have very similar goals, 12 transactions for the year. I mean, that you break it down, that's a closing a month. So
Yeah.
the second question is beyond that, and I'll ask you, Brendan, first, beyond that, so do you have a way, because I set goals every year. I set goals every year for my production, number of deals. And over the years, I've been around a long time, I consistently miss my goal. I consistently miss it. And it's disappointing. And my reason for missing it is I don't have a methodology to put the things in place that are going to get me there. So has Rick worked with you to put in, do you have lead generation goals, so forth, in order to get there?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so at the beginning, initially, this program just started, like, this is the third week, so
Gotcha.
at the beginning, I was writing down my goals, like, going into the week. So Sunday before, I would write down my weekly goals,
Yep.
the amount of calls that I want to make a day,
Okay.
the amount of contacts that I want to make a day,
Okay.
because I feel like that kind of sets the tone for the week, and
Absolutely.
it's easier to achieve those goals if you write them down, I find.
Yep.
So
And
that's
so,
what.
and you're right. It's writing them down, but that translates into you do it daily, you do it weekly, you do it
Yeah.
monthly, and you do it yearly. So these weekly goals you have for number of whether it's number of hours of lead generation or number of contacts or number of appointments, it translates. You just multiply times the number of days or weeks in the year.
Right.
You're working. Okay. And so you got that. Chen, how about you? Do you do the same? Do you have something similar? Do you have goals for yourself, daily, weekly, about lead generation, a number of hours you spend lead generating, number of contacts, et cetera?
Yeah, so how I do it is that was back in maybe 2 years ago.
Yep.
When I first joined, got my license. So with the local brokerage here, we don't really have like a CRM or Kelly Command, the software that they have right now. We have right now. So what I do is I just write down on somewhere that I can see every day. So I told myself, I want to see if I can get 3 deals done on my first year because I'm only doing this part. So I assisted my goal. I got like 8 deals done on my first year. So I then moved to a second year. So usually I put down my goal on January, on January 1st or like the first week of January. And I want to get, X amount of deals this year. And then I kind of break it down too, just like I think Brandon or what you said. So if I want to get 10 deals done, I have to, do 1 deal in a month, where I can get the clients, to get this deal done. Yeah.
Okay. So my question for both of you is, and I know you start at different times, so how do you feel? Are you on track? Are you on track with achieving your goals? I know, of course, if it's over 12 months and depending when you start, but do you feel like you're on track, and do you know? And if you know, how do you know that? Do you have a way to do that?
I feel as though I'm behind because,
Yeah.
like I said, I just started doing this a couple of weeks ago. I just started writing down my goals, and it's
Sure.
working so far, but it's just a short window of time for me to judge,
But your gut is that you're behind.
Right.
And you think, where do you think you're behind? What's
Just on total amount of hours lead generating, I feel like I could have had a lot more business by now if I had done that from the start.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha there. All right.
Yeah.
Jen, how do you think you're doing? Are you think you're on target, or do you think you're behind, or do you think you don't know?
Real estate is interesting, right? We don't know where the next lead is going to come from. We don't know when or where the next deal is going to come from. So yes, so far I'm doing well. Because we just we only have like mid-March. So far everything's going really well in the right direction. If I'm keep doing what I'm doing right now, I probably will assist my goal by the end of the year. But the thing is, I just don't know where the next deal is going to come from.
Interesting. How about if I said to you, um, you can know where it's coming from, because it could come from a variety of sources. It will come from the sources that you lead generate in. And you're right, you don't know specifically. I don't know either. Suddenly, I'm lead generating, my team's lead generating, and suddenly I look over and I got 2 new listings yesterday. And one of them, I was expecting it because we've been lead generating. We've been trying to convert that. The second one was a total surprise. It was somebody from my sphere. It was a client who just bought a house, with his partner, and he died. He died suddenly. And I got a call from the partner who worked with them both and said, "Hey, Bob, suddenly it's happened. He passed away. I got to sell the house. Can you help me?" So I've been in relationship with them, but I didn't expect that one to be a listing for this month. So that's the way it works, but that's what goes on. So here's what I want to do within this hour. I want to give you, I want to share with you the system that we use to meet our goals. There you are, Chen. Now I see you. Thank you, Suzanne, if you did that. I want to give you a system, and it's a system that could be very, very simple, and it is, but it's following some steps consistently, starting with lead generation. And I'll just tell you is that while what I'm going to share with you is you're going to say, well, that's intuitive. I could see that. But Brendan, you raised the point is that you think you're behind early on, and you already know you think you're behind because you don't feel like you're putting the hours into lead generation. And if you put more, you could be further ahead. You got to feel it.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I'm doing that now. I feel
Yeah.
like I'm putting the hours in now, but I
Yeah,
haven't
okay.
been. So yeah, that's where
So
I'm
the
at.
question is that, so wouldn't you like to know, what if I could give you a way that you could, on an ongoing basis, know that you're putting in, so you can measure the hours you're putting in to know it, measure the amount of contacts you're making, and right through the process. If you could see that visually on a daily, weekly basis, and if you could break down those goals for the year from 12 deals, because the real question is, if you look at big picture, if I say I want to do 12 deals a month, 12 deals a year, it comes down to how many hours of lead generation you do for the whole year.
Right.
Do you understand it? Do you believe that's the case?
I understand it. And I've been doing that. Like I've been making 100 calls a day and making 20 contacts. You know what I mean? So I'm doing that,
Gotcha.
but I don't know the exact number of contacts that I need
Yep.
to meet my goal, to answer your question.
And neither do I. And the reason why you don't know is that you don't know what your conversion rate is.
Yeah.
You don't know if you put, you don't know that if you lead generate for an hour, you don't know how many dials you're making. You could know by measuring it. And you don't know of how many dials that you make, how many people will answer the phone and you have a chance to talk to. And you
Yeah.
don't know how many of the people you talk to, how many will agree to have an appointment with you. And of the ones that you schedule an appointment, you don't know how many will actually be there or cancel out before you get there. And when
Right.
you have the appointment, you don't know how many that are gonna actually sign an agreement with you, either a listing agreement or a buyer agreement.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have a listing, let's use a listing. Let's just say buyer. Once you have a buyer, they start looking at how you don't know if that buyer is going to find a house, is going to put an offer in and get it accepted. So it's under agreement. And the reason why you don't know that right now is that it's so hard. The market is so difficult that we have a dozen buyers who've been putting offers in and can't get them. So you don't know how many of those will get under agreement. And of the ones that get under agreement, you don't know how many will actually close, because when they're under agreement, let's say they fall apart during the inspection, they couldn't get financing. So what we're talking about is conversion rates. So that if you call X amount of people, it falls off. You don't reach them, so there's a conversion. So do you understand the concept of conversion rate? Do you
Yeah.
get this?
I
Jen?
get why it's a key thing to know in
Yeah.
like predicting what you're going to make for the year and predicting how many, I
Gotcha.
understand that. I just haven't implemented it.
Okay, and I'm going to help you give you a way. I'm going to share with you a way to implement that.
Okay.
So you can actually, Chen, how about you? Do you understand this concept of conversion? You start off with, so many hours, but it turns in based on the conversion rate that you have. And by the way, your conversion rate is different than, for each of those steps is different than Brendan's, is different than mine, and it depends on a variety of factors. Your experience, how good you are at scripts, depends on who you're calling. What list you're calling. You're calling a farm, you're calling past clients, or you're calling Spear, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm taking this slow here before I go share, because I don't want to just run through slides. I want to, and it sounds like both of you got the idea of this.
Mhm.
Now,
My situation is a little bit different.
okay,
I don't really call people that I don't know. I don't really do like lead generation.
okay,
The way how I do or how I get the deals is talking to the clients that I already know, because I have an accounting business.
yep,
So I already have I have clientele that I
okay,
can call, and I already know them.
yep.
When I already know them really well, and
Yep.
of course I have all the information. All the when we do their taxes, we have all the information.
You know them, if they own a house, or if they own a second house.
Right, and I know
Yeah,
their
yeah.
income. I know pretty much everything.
Right. So let me-
on the financial point, right?
Let me say this, your situation is not different than Brendan's or mine, and I'll tell you why. The only difference is who you call, because you are lead generating. So you
Mhm.
lead generate by sources. So you're calling your clients. You could be calling your Sphere. Brendan or I may call expired listings. So you are lead generating. And for you, most likely, and if Brendan only lead generated to his, let's say his sphere of influence, people he would get a higher percentage of conversions to appointments and so forth there. So you're very fortunate, Jen, to be able to have that. That is so important. And that's okay. And so what it means is that if you have a higher conversion rate, we're gonna go into it, a higher conversion rate for for converting people that are your clients to get them as buyers or sellers. It means that you don't have to do as many hours, maybe, or I shouldn't say as many contact. You don't need to contact as many people. So when I mean contact, I mean the ways to lead generate, and what the way we measure it is it's a phone call. It could be text messaging. It could be emailing, and a contact is when you have a two-way communication. So for simplicity, let's just use phone calls. But so you see in your client database, boy, I got someone who I can see what's going on. They're ripe to buy. You make a call and you just introduce, say, gee, you have a conversation about it and said, about the market, and have you considered buying or selling? And you convert a higher percentage of those because you are lead generating to people that are predisposed to buying or selling.
Yes, I
Okay.
agree. I completely agree. Usually, I call these people if they're looking to buy or sell. Most likely, they're going to come to me because I already know them.
Good.
On the other hand, I only have X amount of clientele.
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying, I'm kind of going in circle. So once I, reach out to all these clients, who else I'm going to reach?
So here's what I want to, and I'm kind of tailoring this to each of you. So for both of you, if I could share with you a way to measure it and set conversion rates based on who you're working with, you could determine roughly by these conversion rates, but your past experience, how many closings that you're going to get, Chen, from your clients. It's not perfect, but you can determine that. So that's what I want to do with both of you. And I tell you what, I'm going to make an offer. Now I know Brendan, you're working with Rick, and that's just great. And he's got a thing going on. But well, let's just go through it first, and then I'll make the offer later. So let me show you something here. So this here is, so here's, and it happens to be close. So this is pretty close by you guys, 10 or 12. So when you do it, the first thing you do is you determine the number of closings you want. And
Bob, can you do the preview so we can see this full screen?
Preview, tell me where.
Should be up on the right there somewhere. Click the little arrow that's all the way to the right of the screen. Yeah, that little arrow there. And then see where it says present.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
All right. So for each of you guys, so you want, this is a good approximation. It's close. You want to do 10 closings. So Brendan and Chen, and this is quick. This is the setup. What do you think? Do you know what your average of the ones that you've sold? Do you know what your average sale price is? Average sale price of what you've closed?
I have yet to close anything.
Okay, Chen, what's yours?
I would say about 400.
Okay.
So yeah, 400.
Okay, important piece. And Brendan, you could get yours from, you haven't closed it, but you could, the area you're working in, it's based on the area you're working in. You could say to Rick, I'm primarily focused on these areas. What's the average sale price? You could go into MLS and get it. So
Okay.
if you're going to want 2 closings with an average of 400 twice, you're going to do 4 million in sales volume. So if you have a volume goal, that's it. And then you say is what's important is how much money you're going to make. And then from there you say, what's the average commission? Well, it could be a variety of things, but let's just say it's, with a 5% commission, if that's a typical one. If you could get, if you could get 6, that'd be great, but 5. And so your average commission on one side is 2.5%. And if you multiply that and forget about the capping, because I know there's money, there's cap that's pulled out of it. But if your GCI is based on 2.5% commission for 10 deals at 400,000 average price, your gross commission earned is 100,000. Now, of course, you up to a certain limit, you're gonna give 30% of so many deals to the office, and so your actual GCI will be less. But let's just for simplicity, let's keep it out. And then your expenses. Do you guys, just curious, do you guys do you have a budget for, do you know how much you're going to spend? Do you have a budget for expenses? Okay, no, that's okay. Jen?
Not really.
Okay, so it's early and you'll get it quickly, but here's the rule of thumb. In MREA, if you're operating well, you're going to spend of your expenses should be 60% of the GCI, because the more GCI you have, the more closings you have, the more infrastructure you need, but typically roughly around 60%, so that if you make $100,000, your expenses, if you budget for it and you break it down to categories, is going to be around 60,000. After that, your net profit is $40,000. That's just a basic, but we're going to get beyond that, but that's the basic of the goals. And for my team, I know what it is. We're going to do 50. Our goal is 55 deals. Our sales volume is 30 million. That's our goal, and our GCI is 750,000. Take 60% of that. That's going to be the net profit. So that's just a setup. But let me go on to the meat of this, which is your goal. So you guys both of you want to set, do 12 deals. So the way you will do it, and this is the discipline, and I always set goals, but I could never was not patient enough and didn't have a technique or a system to be able to start with, well, how many hours do I need to, so if I'm going to close 10, how many hours of lead generation do I need to do? And out of that, how many contacts do I need to make? And out of the contacts, how many appointments do I need to set? And how many appointments do I need to hold? And out of that, how many will I have contracts written? How many will go under agreement? And how many will close? If you knew all this information, you would have a chance of getting your 10 deals. And if you had this information and you were doing the work and measuring your activity, and you were not getting your 10 deals, actually, this is a delay because it takes 30 days to close. I look at really under agreement. And if you weren't making it and you were doing the lead generation hours and the contacts and so forth, you weren't, then you say something's wrong. You're either not doing the hours, you're not making as many contacts, etc. So this is how you close 10 deals. And if you knew what these were, and then you could say, here's how many hours I need to put into it and what I need to do. So far, so good? So here's the subject. So I say it's all about conversions. And this is the biggest question. And so here's the way it works. Here's I did it just for an exercise. Well, how many hours of lead generation do you need to do in order to get one closing? And I actually went through it, and this is mathematical, so you don't have half appointments, but essentially, and here's some assumptions. If you do 18, and I worked it backwards, if you were doing 18 and a half hours of lead generation, if you did it, and you need to make an assumption of how many dials. And what I've said is, if you're calling manually, it's slower. If you're using an auto dialer, you can make many more calls. But it depends who you're calling. But roughly, I think the goal is that if you're dialing manually, Suzanne, what is it there? It's around 11 calls an hour you could make.
Yeah, it's somewhere between like 8 and 11.
Yeah, and the reason it is you say, think about it. So you make calls, some of those aren't going to answer and you leave voicemails. Someone will answer and you'll get a quick no, and someone will answer and want to have a conversation. And so we use some averages, and you got to start with something, and then you modify it as you get some information. So it says is if you're using an auto dialer, 12, and here's just a conversion rate, is if you're dialing 12% of people, and this is some data. And by the way, you could go into MREA Maps has typical conversion rates, but you start with something and then you measure how you're doing. So it says 12% of the people that you reach out to will answer the phone. Let's just say, and then from there you say, okay, of those, now I talked to 12%. So I'm really out of the 111 I contact, who I make contact, only 2.5% of those, pretty low number, will agree to an appointment. So you talk to 100 people, three people will agree to an appointment. One of them is going to cancel on you, and so you only ever have an appointment with 2. And of the 2, you're not going to get them to sign an agreement. So only 1.5 of those are going to sign. And if it's a buyer and so tough, what percentage you're going to actually get under agreement? And if you run the numbers, that's to get one closing. If we use your numbers, and I'm sure you're not using auto dial. I would assume you're not, because you're more calling the people you know. But if you just look at this, just conceptually, is you need to, in using an auto dialer, you need to be, and by the way, this is over the year. So in a year, to get 10 closings a year, you've got to be lead generating 1,850 hours for the year. And if you just do the math and you say, okay, how many hours a day? Let's just say, just use, 4 hours a day, try this, times 5 days, that's, that's 20. And then, you, especially Brendan, you got this number about you need to talk to, you're looking to reach 100 people a week, correct? 20 people a day, 100 people a week.
Yeah.
That's Rick, Rick uses that. And by the way, that's a standard. So you're trying to reach those. So if you look at this number here, so your number per week is 100. And let's say you use 40 weeks, 100 times 40 weeks, that's 4,000. So in a year, you want, and if that's your goal, you're going to reach 4,000 people a year. And now you start saying is what percentage will I get an appointment from? How many will keep it? How many will I sign up? How many will get offers accepted to close? So this is a technique, and what's most important is these conversion rates, and they vary. So if we were to, and I can provide this to you, is that this number down here for lead generation conversion is about right. It should be more like, let's just say it's going to be 9. Make round. I like the round. It's 10 an hour. That's what you could do manually calling. In terms of so you're 10 an hour, and so the number of people that you would reach, it says you'll reach 12%. Our experience, based on what we're doing today, is higher than that. It depends on who you're calling. If you're calling a farm and they're able to look at the incoming caller, they may not pick up, versus if you're calling your sphere. So you've got to establish this. We're actually, on the average right now, we're reaching 30%, which is which is great, but it's who we're calling. So you establish a number here. This is the big one, is how many people, and this is the big variation, how many people, so once you get someone on the phone, how good are your scripts such that you can get them converted to setting up an appointment? 2.5%, that's low. I mean, it's essentially 2 to 3 out of 100, but that's the number. And if the better you are, the higher that will go. But these are numbers. Was lacking of any numbers, you use these. And then how many will agree to set appointments? And then you say, how many appointments, if you set an appointment with someone, only 70%, and this is just based on data, will actually keep the appointment. And then when you get out there, if you have appointments and you've pre-qualified them, what percentage of those will actually sign a contract, either a buyer or a listing contract? And the better you do at determining their motivation, so you're not going out on appointments of people who you don't think are going to sell, that'll screw it up. That'll screw up your numbers. But if you get good people, that you should be able to close on 80%, a good agent would. And y'all should maybe be different, but you ought to have a number. And then you say, how many will go under agreement? On the overall, we got a little bit of an issue with this whole buyer thing, but it's typically 80%. So these are the things for you, Brendan. If you could plug in numbers here, conversions, and you may talk to Rick and say, hey, Rick, what do you think? It starts with the front lead generating. How many? Can you help me with this? Can you, based on your experience, Rick, in the areas that you're working in, because Rick's going to be high, he's good at converting, is you want to say, what number should I use? And then what you do is you use the numbers, and then you watch it over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. You'll find out if your conversions, how your conversions are compared to what you set. So Brendan, for you, does this make sense?
It does, yeah.
Simple. Now,
Kind of
Jen,
scary to look at, though.
well, and again, I'm gonna take out the scariness, because I'm showing you on the surface, but I'll show you the system we use, and you can create your own. It's not scary, because you don't have to be looking at, well, it's scary because can I
Well,
do
no,
it?
it's funny because I had 3 appointments last week and 2 of them canceled. So it's funny that that's a factor, you know?
And the question is, why did they cancel? If you analyze it, why do you think they canceled?
I don't know. I met them at an open house and it seems as though they aren't ready. They're not, like, one of them wasn't pre-approved. They're both buyers.
Yeah.
And then the third appointment was a listing appointment, which I got, so that was good.
So take the, and I'll be back to you, Chen, in a minute, but take Brendan on this one here. So take the 2 that you went on an appointment. Now, if you knew that they weren't, the whole idea is to determine before you meet them. So from the phone call, determine if they're ready, willing, and able to buy.
Yeah, and I asked them the pre-qualifying questions, you know, I
Okay.
did that, so it was strange, to say the least.
Well, you want to dig into that because that's key. Because if you're getting only, 2 out of 3, and by the way, it's 0 out of 2,
Yeah,
and it's 1 out of 1. So good news, you're great at listings, but the devil is in the details. So what's important and what we do weekly, we look at our numbers by agent and say, gee, Amy, so what went on? What do you think went on? And we have this discussion we're having now. And if I take a little time with you, drill down, you'll determine, okay, even though you asked the pre-qualifying questions, what happened? Something was missing. And if you could determine that, then you modify your pre-qualification script.
mm-hmm.
So you get it there.
Yep.
You Chen, is different, is that I would think that you're calling people, at least right now, that so I think the idea for you would be, I would just say, is that it comes down to how much time you're going to spend in it. But boy, your numbers would be very different than this. These all are right, but your big changes is when you're calling people or reaching or emailing and say, gee, or texting and say, hey, gee, I'd like to have an appointment with you, or they call you and you respond and say, of course. Your numbers are going to be much higher here. And once you reach them and have the conversation, because you know so much about it, more about them than they know with respect to buying and selling, your conversion rate to appointments is going to be much higher. Because
Yes.
information to pre-qualify. And once that happens, then the question is, once you get the appointment and you know that they're motivated, you get them to sign. So can you see, Chen, this works for you just as well. What's different about you is the conversion rates, because you should have higher conversion rates here. These are pretty typical. This one here, by the way, ought to be, we see contacts to appointment set. This might be, because everybody you talk to isn't going to buy, but you should be okay. But for you, these numbers would be different. And if you actually track those, you learn from it. So, but
Yeah, I think my numbers are a little bit different. Looking at the deals I have done. I don't reach out to that many people. I probably would say have 50% conversion rate. So if I talk to 20 people, it will be end up 10 people are buying. So in my client database.
So think about this. So if you talk to how many people, if you had your number, if you talk to 10 people.
Yeah, I probably end up 5 people buying. So if they're looking to buy.
Yeah, if you have by experience, this is the way you'd create this. If you have by experience, that if it's 10 here, that 5 will close. Yeah. You can back up and say, so how many people do I need to reach out to, and how many hours I'm going to take lead generating? So you actually have some data. So your conversion rate from contacts made all the way to closing is 50%.
Yeah, within my client database. But if I call someone like Brandon, or maybe meeting one time that I don't know them, they probably just cancel the appointment.
Well, but that's just it. And you want to measure it. So that's it. So you can actually look. So when you're calling this week, if you use a system like this and you're making calls, I would suggest you, if you can, try to do all in groups. Do, client calling this week.
Mhm.
And now you see how well you do. And next week, you're going to be doing farm, or you'll be doing another list. You can begin to compare the different conversion rates. All right.
Do you think that like you should split it up week by week? Like 1 week you call expireds, 1 week you circle dial, 1 week you call your sphere? Because I've been doing like day by day, like how depending on how I'm feeling. If I don't
Yeah.
feel like calling expireds, I'm gonna circle dial,
Here's the thought. You could, the whole idea is, no, it's not by week. I'm saying, I'm just looking at how you can begin to aggregate the data, but it's, if
Yeah,
you,
like just so you can track it, I'm saying.
you-
Like so it's easy
something
to
so
track.
you can track it and see, if you did today, you did expireds, wouldn't you like to know how many expireds you called in order to get, and how many people actually answered the phone?
Yes.
And next week, if you're calling another, so that's really important. And so and then what you do is, these are blended conversion rates. It assumes you're calling expireds and you're calling FISBOs and you're calling Sphere and you're calling past clients. So that you can get a little more sophisticated. So you get the idea, you can see the idea of this is your conversion rates will be over. But if you could use the blended conversion rate, once you get an idea, and you probably know when I call expireds, what's it going to be like? And if you're calling the same number of expireds over the year as something else, you make those assumptions. It allows you to, on a big picture, start off with, I want to close 10 deals for the year. I may be calling different people, but this is how many hours I need to be calling, and here's how many contacts I need to make.
Right.
All right. So we're getting into it. So let me just now. So, and I thought, so here's the way to do it. So my biggest issue when I was doing it was, it's a lot of work. You'd be making calls, you got to write it down, you have a list, how do you do it, and so forth, and it's tough. So who we got on the phone here with me is Suzanne LaRock. Suzanne's my director of lead generation, and Kathy Arnold is my director of operations. And what Suzanne did, for us, and this could be done. She did it in Google Sheets and Zoho forms. I mean, she has a little technique, but it's pretty easy to do. And here's what we do is that we actually have it set up so that when we lead generate, and by the way, there's 5 of us lead generating. Well, there's myself, I have 2 buyer agents, and I have 2 ISAs. I just decided that's the way to go, but they lead generate and they have goals as well. So what Suzanne has set up for us is a little tool, and I'm showing you this to show you what can be done. Is so on our daily calendar. So because we enter information there. I have a lead generation activity that allows me to look at how much lead generation I'm doing, and I have another one here that allows me to look at the appointments I'm getting, who they are, the contact information for the people. So it's a pretty simple. So it's sitting online, and I can, by the way, I can do this right on my phone. So it's really good. Here's the 2 parts of it. And I want to just show you, there's 2 parts. So this is the first part is once you have your goals. So we have it set up so I go into my phone and, so I'm agent 1. I just click on me as an agent. At the end of the day, I summarize what I've done. How many hours did I lead generate? How many dials did I make? How many contacts did I make? That's all I need to enter into it. This NER is something we do. We're doing some never-ending referrals. This is another calling your sphere. But this is all I need to enter. At the end of each day, I enter 3 numbers: number of hours, the number of dials, and the number of contacts made. What happens out of that, behind the scenes, is there's a tracking report that comes up, and for all the agents, I can look. So Suzanne created this little thing so that here on March 1st, I did 3 hours of lead generating. I did 76 dials. I did 14 contacts, and forget this one here. That's all it is. And it's for day 1, it's every day. And so that's just a way to collect it. it's keeping it, and that's where the power, and I'm doing it like this because, we've got 5 of us lead generating in different ways, but you could do that. That's all you're doing yourself. And so that's all it takes to look at that. And then the next thing what's really important is I need to know this is the appointment question. So now, this is my lead capture. And so I'm agent 1. And so what happened is when I contact someone, things that either I'm going to set an appointment, or by the way, it could be, it could be when I actually, the day I'm going out, I can use this for any of them. A held appointment. Sometimes it's not a listing or a buyer appointment, it's a consult. And so we track that because this is for someone like Brendan in your group, those 2 buyers that you couldn't get appointments. If you think they're potential, they're a great consult. They're a consult. You're going to say, do you think they will buy in the future? And so they may be just early. These are the ones you're going to want to stay in touch with.
Okay.
So you call it a consult. By the way, when you get something under agreement, when you get a contract signed, you could use this. When you put it under agreement, when it closes, and if they're a buyer, a seller, or a rental. And you do this every day for the number of appointments or the number of people that you want to capture. So here's the next thing, and then you can put in their name. Most important, you can put in them, what's their source, whether expired listing, a Sphere, a Zillow lead. This is ours, and you plug this in, and then you plug in the client, their name. Oops, I did their name, their phone number, the email, and once you put that in the front end, this is what comes out. This is captured. So one of the issues that we have, and what's important is adding people into your pipeline. And so what this does is it actually captures the information. And by the way, just let me ask, are either of you using Command at the moment?
I am, but very
Yeah.
new to it.
I got it.
They haven't set it up yet.
Good, okay. So this is good. So what this is simply, this is there, and you don't have to use Command. You just capture it. You can put it in an Excel file initially. I mean, that's just it. And you can sort them by bias. So it captures all your information. This is the thing. This avoids this whole question of when you're lead generating, you talk to some people, you don't want to capture the name and address. They have no interest. Let it go. The ones where you think where you're going to go on an appointment, or you're going to, or you want to do a follow-up with them because they're a future potential, you capture their information and you put it into your, I call this my lead capture, my lead pipeline. So now you have the information. So with a couple of screens here, or, you don't need these, you just create a sheet. If you wanted, you could take these and print these out as sheets, and every day you complete one of these. And every time you get an appointment or you contact someone, you want to capture them, you use this one here. Now you've done all your capture, and you could put them in your database. You could do what you want with them.
Okay.
Really?
See, I've been tracking it on just using pen and paper, and I'll have like the 50 box. There's like 50 boxes that stand for the 50 dials that I'm supposed to make. If I make a contact, I'll put an X or whatever symbol, and if I make an appointment, there's another symbol that correlates with that. But I don't like having that many sheets of paper on me, and then at the end of the week having to put them in my database. So that's where I struggle with consistency, I think.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Suzanne?
Yeah, so I would say that I agree with that. It's tough when you have all these like papers floating around. So one of the recommendations that I give our agents is to just use like one small piece of paper, and you can just mark it off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then use the little tick marks that we all learned in like grade school, where you make, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the slash across for 5.
Mhm.
And so every contact that you make, you just make a quick little tick mark on a sheet, and then it makes it really easy for you to add that up at the end of the day. And if you use a system like this, whether it's a form or just entering it into a spreadsheet, Excel, Google Sheets, whatever, you can just summarize that really easy and like get rid of the paper, right? So as long as you're logging it somewhere, that's the key, because where Bob is going with this, when you are able to collect the data and then analyze the data to see where you are, that's where the power of actually logging the information comes from.
Right, right. And then looking at that information to build your next goal. And
Exactly, right.
Or to modify, not modify your goal for now, is to say, okay, I'm falling behind my goal. You can look, and I'll show you a screen in a minute. You can look back and you say, what's going on? Why am I missing it?
Right.
That's the power of it. But I don't want to get, I'm not trying to make this complicated. Trying to give you the basics of what's important. And these are just some techniques. And the whole idea, you're right. One of your issues is it takes time, and you got all these papers and that's extra work. You know, you've got to do it all yourself. And so finding simple ways to do it.
And making the commitment to log the information. So, you know, if you make your little tick marks all throughout the day, that's really easy to count up and just log that. But making a commitment to yourself to capture the people that you actually did talk to and make it, you know, and have that all be in one central location is really helpful.
Right. And it's how you use the information that really matters, right?
How you use it. Providing it is one, but what you use the information, it's the tool for analyzing. So just quickly here, and we're almost out of time here, here's our goals. I say before, here's Gill Group goals: 55 closed sides, 30 million in volume, 750 in GCI, and 300,000 net profit. That's just the goal we set it. Here's where the power is, and I don't want you to don't go drilling down into this, but this is the kind of thing that you want to have, whether it's an Excel file or something simple. Remember all the things we had is that lead generation hours, dials, contacts made, appointments held, appointments set, buyer listing agreements taken, offers accepted. We track under agreement because that equates, you know, there's a little fall off. We track that because it's real time, and then goals. So here's our goal: 55 deals. And built into these are other conversion rates. But if essentially what you do is if you have your numbers there, this is your annual goal. You could break it down into your monthly goal. You could break it into your weekly goal. And then what you do is as you go along, you look at how I've done January, how I've done February, how I've done March. You can aggregate these. And, you know, the simple thing for me, I don't look at lots of detail, but here's what I do is big thing. I look at, we need to do, in order to do 30 million in order to do 55 closings, I need to do 5 a month. If you look at how many we got, we're falling short here by month. But because there's a delay at the first of the year, I'm not so worried about that. That'll catch up. What really is, how am I doing with the units under agreement and the volume? And it needs to be 2.5 million under agreement a month, 2.1, 1 point, only 1. So we were a little short there, a lot short there. But if you look at March and we're 3 weeks into March, you don't see it here, but we've already got 2.1 million out of the 2.5. This is where the power is. This is for both of you guys. If you could create a simple system, just where you had your numbers in here that you can say, this is my monthly number. This is my 10 closing for the year. Here's how many hours I need to lead generate. And then you start to look at how many hours did I do in January and February and March? Simply add them up. You know, you can take, you could take your hours needed for the year, divide it by 12, that's your monthly goal. And you could take it for each of those, and it just gives you this is the thing that'll hold you accountable. If you don't have this, what they say is you will improve what you measure. If you're collecting the data, but if you need something simple, this has got more detail than, you look at it and go, ooh, what's all this stuff? If you're just looking at this and seeing how you're doing daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, you'll get yourself there.
Yeah, and you can break this up into more manageable. Like for me, sometimes when I see stuff like this, it makes my eyes bug out and I'm like, it's too much. It's like overload, but you can chunk it down into more manageable pieces so it doesn't feel so overwhelming. So you could you could break it down into a weekly, and that makes it feel like, instead of looking, oh my God, I have to dial 28,000 people this year, that's a little overwhelming. But if you break it down into a weekly, sort of section it by week, that makes it a little bit, I think, easier to digest.
By the way, that's what we do. We look at this weekly. We meet as a team every week. Suzanne and Kathy will roll up all the numbers, and then we'll have it. And, you know, it's great. It's got a team because we're doing corporate volume, but the power is in having the information. We review it, and this tells us how we're doing. Chen, is this making sense to you?
Yeah.
He's an accountant. He's an accountant. Of course it makes sense.
So, and so I'll come back. So, but this is who the team. I mean, I'm lead generating. Ginny lead generates. Amy does. Matthew and Winnie here, they're ISAs, and so they're getting appointments. So they're part of it is but they're accountable for closings. So what it is, you know, for instance, Matthew is accountable for generating appointments, a number of appointments that will result in, and he focuses on listings only, that'll result in 24 closings that I will close. That's how we're doing it.
Right.
So it's a lot.
Everyone does their lead generation, so you kind of like all collaborate and.
Oh yeah,
Is
and what we can do is we can look at this, broke it down by individual. So Amy's goal for the year is 24 deals. So we could break this down and Amy can see all her information. How many hours of lead generation need to do in order to get it? And her conversions could be different than Matthew's because Matthew is an ISA and all he does is lead generate.
Right.
And his list of difference.
Mhm.
So do you see, can you visualize you using this tool? And I don't mean what I should. Can you visualize using? It's really as simple. Can you visualize? Can you see yourself using this here in some way in your business?
Yes, and I see it helping, like very much so. Just because being a newer agent, you're not going to have these numbers until obviously you get experience, right? So I mean, you don't track what you're doing.
Yep.
You're not going to know in 2 years what happened, you know.
But set some goals, make some assumptions, even though you know, make some assumptions based on, you come back to me, give me a call and say, Bob, what do you think? Based on here's who I'm dealing, what do you think my numbers should be? Go to Rick and get if you without these conversion numbers, because that was the point that Chen made. First is I got people, but I just don't know where my closings are going to come from.
Mhm.
You don't know, you don't know who, but you know they're going to come from dials and contacts and appointments. And if you track that stuff there, it'll get you there.
Right. Like lead generating is the focus of it. So just
You got it. And it's not just lead gen. What people talk about, it's lead generating. And
follow up also.
It's overwhelming just to say lead generating. What do you mean by that? It's how many hours, how many contacts. And by the way, I like your system, Brendan. It's one that Rick subscribes to. Your goal is the number of contacts. You back into it and say, you got to keep lead generating until I get 20 contacts a day.
Yeah. So at first I was focusing more on the amount of dials, but then that wasn't really working. So I think contacts is better.
Yeah.
I think working, like once you make the 20 contacts, you're done you're done.
You got it.
Think about
And
it.
so for you, if that's truly your focus, and if you stick to that, the 20, you don't have to worry about the number of hours lead generating. You want to capture it.
Right.
So
Definitely.
you know what it's taken you, and you like to know how many dials because it depends on your list. Depend on your list,
Right.
but essentially you got it.
But the amount of dials doesn't necessarily mean that your GCI is going to be huge that month. Like it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not the amount of dials, it's the amount of contacts. That's what I'm getting at.
It's the amount of contacts, but it's the amount of contacts that are converted to appointments, that are converted to
it all.
contracts, that are converted, yeah. It's
Right.
there. So
I've
keep it,
I've put my email in the chat, so if anybody wants to, information about how to kind of set this up a little bit, feel free to email
Yeah.
me.
Do you do
I'm
this?
gonna
in
email you right
command?
now, Suzanne.
You can
Suzanne?
email it, it's in the chat. Yeah, I put my email in the chat.
Okay.
Jen, do you have a question?
Yeah. Do you do all this in the command,
Ah.
or it's like on a spreadsheet?
Good, quick question. The goal is to do this in command, but if command is not ready. Command is not ready, does not have this capability yet. What we do, we capture all of our leads in command in the pipeline, how many are nurtures, how many are important. We capture that part. But this is, command is not ready for this. There are other tools like Follow Up Boss, which is a lead generation system. We've looked at those, but boy, to learn it is extra. They want to provide you with leads. The easiest way we found, and especially at your level, the level that we're all at, is create it's easy to create a little homegrown system to do it. And if you need some help with that, you can reach out to Suzanne, reach out to me, be glad to help in any way we can. But this is the secret sauce. Secret sauce is to set the goals, know how many hours or how many contacts you need to make all the way through, and then monitor it.
And I'm just wondering, do you just call people that you don't know?
I do all. I call
You do
people I
all.
don't know, call people I don't know, which is called a farm. Could call people that are past clients. I call expireds. I call a variety of people, and that's a whole subject is who. And if you want to talk about that, be glad to have a conversation. Give me a call. We could have a conversation about, all of the different sources and how to do it differently. Because right now, in order you grow your volume, you'll need to start calling others, and we can give you some suggestions about how to do that.
Okay. So I think the question comes back to what I can provide to the client. So if I'm going to call someone that I don't know, they're going to look at it and say, oh, why should I hire you? Why should I use your services? Well, I mean, what makes me unique? What makes me different than other people, different than other agents?
That's another class.
Yeah.
That's another class. It's all part of it. This is meant just to help you lead generate. There's webinars out there on how do you differentiate yourself. There's a lot you can do, but yeah, that's another one. You got it, especially as a new agent. Okay, I've got to get on to another session here. So contact Suzanne, contact me. I hope this was helpful and at least give you some insight about how to do. And it sounds like you both have got the basics there. Now it's just put it into action.
Yeah, this is
Great.
very informative. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Appreciate that. And really nice to meet you guys.
Suzanne, I just emailed you just so you have my contact information.
Sounds good. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys. Have a good one.
Bye. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Take care.